Hey everybody, Matthew Armstrong here on day 63 of this 100-day financial freedom challenge, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about assets and liabilities and the difference between them, and just getting this distinction, and really getting this distinction can mean the difference between you being completely dead broke and you being a multi-millionaire. Simple as that. Just getting this one distinction. So, sit up, listen in, and I like to tell stories because we can really get things by stories, But some information will go in one ear, out the other. You might get a little tiny bit of story, you'll remember it, and it's impactful, right? So I just thought of this when I saw a young guy in Empower Network. He's only 22 years old, and he's just got his first big paycheck from Empower Network, and he's just gone out and he's bought a brand new BMW sports car. And he's kind of putting his pictures up of this, showing it. I'm just shaking my head thinking, oh, if that's what he's put his first big paycheck into, complete liability. A brand new BMW, 22-year-old kid, insurance is going to be through the roof. It's just complete liability, He may be making tons of money, well, it will be, but if that's his mindset, if he hasn't really got that mindset yet of what to do with your money once you get it, then that can set you up for big time failure, big time pain. That can set you up for big time pain. Making money is one thing, but losing it, that's a whole other thing, And so I remember many years ago, when I was really down on my luck, and another friend of mine really down on his luck. He's really down on his luck. We both just had major breakups, and so we hung out together and used to go. We were drinking buddies together, and we used to drown our sorrows in lots and lots of alcohol at the time. And it's interesting how they say birds of a feather flock together, and we were both in this low state, and we both kind of connected, and we hung out together and used to go drinking and partying together. But we kind of got our shit together, so to speak, and we went out and we got jobs because we realized that it wasn't really sustainable what we were doing. So we both got the same job together, and it was quite a well-paying job as far as jobs go. We worked our asses off. It was a lot of hours, and we worked our asses off for 9 months, and we saved up some money. We got ourselves back in the, out of the red and back at a comfortable level, and he went out with his money. We built up a good few thousand, well, probably 10,000 or something at least savings, and he went out and he bought a sports car. And I went out and I put my money down and bought a house. He bought a sports car, I bought a house. He bought a sports car, he also bought some clothes and stuff like that, some old designer gear, just so he could kind of look good driving around the town. He's back on his feet, sports car, designer gear. And I put all my money as a down payment on a house that was being built off the plans. And the reason we both had those different mindsets at that time, because why would we have a different mindset? We kind of we grew up in similar sort of situations and things, and the only thing that set us apart was that I had read a book and he hadn't read a book. I'd read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and so I understood the difference between liabilities and assets. I still had major glitches in my whole money matrix, my whole money blueprint. I had major glitches, and I'm still working on glitches. I'm still working on glitches for sure. I'm still zapping them. Here's a glitch, that glitch, that glitch, and just smoothing things over. So back then, I understood the difference between assets and liabilities. And let's just write it up because it's actually seeing it. Yeah. So we have assets, liabilities. Whenever I start writing on the whiteboard, my videos tend to go on for 20 minutes or so. I don't do it so much right now, but I'll do it this time because it's worth actually seeing it. Assets and liabilities. And so at the time, so he spent his money on that, and he actually got to a stage where he had to actually sell that sports car and lose a ton of money on it. He sold it for less than half the what he bought it for, just to get rid of it. It wasn't a car that was really sought after. It was kind of a unique looking car, and not many people wanted it, especially at that sort of time. And the fuel consumption was just astronomical in it. So he was putting all his money into fuel just for this car. It's insurance, it's huge liability. It just drain of his money, And for my house, sure, I had to pay a mortgage on it, but my mortgage was actually about the same as if I had to pay rent. My mortgage was about the same as if I had to pay rent. And at the time, the house prices were going up by about £700 a week. You know, that's just incredible. Like, it was like, you know, money out of thin air, like I sometimes talk about. Just like just house prices going up and up and up. And so for me at the time, the house isn't always an asset, but at that time, the house was an asset. Liability, car, especially a brand new car. You know, if you go buy a car, buy a decent second-hand one that you can at least sell a year later for a similar sort of price. You know, car. You know, what are other assets? Other assets are different investments. Whatever you're investing in, it's pretty broad, but investments, right? Liabilities, boat. You know, anything that's just going to cost you money is a liability. You know, boat is just a big hole in your bank account. It's just going to drain your money away. You know, so what can you invest in? Like precious metals is a big one these days. You know, precious metals. They're assets, right? Buy precious metals. You know, like gold, silver, you know, stuff like that. More liabilities are just, I don't know, just stuff that we kind of buy but we don't need. You know, just toys, things like that. You know, people would buy like, you know, bikes and you know, exotic holidays. Just things we don't really need, but you know, some can be nice, and they're nice to have these things. But they're liabilities, you know. So these are the sort of things we want to focus on while we're building our wealth. Is the assets. Focus on the assets, you know, and then let the return from the assets pay for the liabilities. That's the thing, you know. So you have the return from assets. They go over and they pay for your liabilities. So you're not actually paying for your liabilities out of your own pocket. It's just the return from your assets are paying for that. You know, that's what Robert Kiyosaki. He's got like, you know, 7 sports cars in his garage. I saw a video of it once. He's like, oh, these are my sports cars. These are my wife's sports cars. Why he needs all those sports cars, I don't know. I don't care. I have no judgment on it. You know, he just likes sports cars. He likes his toys. But he didn't pay for any of those out of his own pocket. He just paid for those out of the return he was getting on his assets. If he had an investment, that investment was making, you know, 20% a year, he just took some of that return out and just put it, and he bought all his cars with just the assets, right? Just the, not even the assets, but the return on the assets, right? So it wasn't money he was directly making or doing work for, just money from his investments, right? So, you know, that's the way you want to do it. You want to pay for your liabilities with the return from your assets. And you know, that's what I did. You know, my house isn't always an asset. You know, sometimes you can buy a house when it's like the price really high, and then the market drops, and you know, you're screwed, right? But for me at the time, I bought it really low. The market went up, and what I was able to do is I was able to remortgage my house. So I got about $100,000. I remortgaged and got $100,000 equivalent, maybe a bit more than that. Given to me in my hand. They just put like, I just went in, remortgaged my house, and they just put $100,000 plus in my bank account, just like that. So I suddenly turned, was less than $10,000. I suddenly turned less than $10,000, by $8,000. I suddenly turned that into $100,000, just like that, right? Just like that. And with that money, what did I invest in? I invested in the thing that was most important to me. The most important investment for me was my mind and experience. So that $100,000, I traveled around the world. I did lots of courses, lots of workshops, lots of seminars. I invested in my own mind. I'm Victoria's as well. We both did it. We traveled. We had amazing experiences, and you know, that was our investment. We invested in our own education. We learned things. We set up little businesses. We learned how to do business. We learned various things, but it was in personal development. That was our investment. Personal development, I think, is the most important investment we can ever make. because reading that book, the Robert Kiyosaki book that taught me about assets and liabilities, that was personal development. That allowed me to make a decision to buy a house, where my friend made a decision to buy a car, which brought him down further, brought him right back to where he was in the beginning 9 months before that, you know, and allowed me to stepping stone up, yeah, whatever, stepping stones, that doesn't matter, you know, go up to a higher level and have all these amazing experiences just because I made the decision, instead of a car, I think I'll buy a house. I'll spend 500 quid on a car, who cares, you know. So I had my house, had something to live in, and then I was able to remortgage it, and I never lost out in that house. I never lost a penny. I made more than 100 grand in that house, you know. So that's the difference between assets, liabilities. You know, I'm sure you can think of enough yourself, enough other sort of assets you can think of, other liabilities. You know, make a list. You know, short video. I'm not going to write lots of things. Short list. Make a list. See what's assets and liabilities in your life. See what more assets you can invest in, and what liabilities you can kind of use the growth from your assets to then buy your liabilities instead of spending out your own pocket on them. You know, so that's it. Very, very simple, but very, very powerful. Will change your life, change my life. Just having that simple distinction, that simple understanding about assets and liabilities. So when you do start making a lot of cash, that you know what to do with it, and you're not silly, and you're not just throwing it around, because that's so many people's story. So many people's story is, yeah, I made a lot of money, then I lost a lot of money, because they didn't understand about assets and liabilities. They didn't value it. They didn't value saving. They didn't value investing because they didn't understand it. Once you understand it, then you really value it, right? Okay, hope you enjoyed the video, and remember to click on the link below if you haven't already done so. Join our team. You know, start creating that financial abundance that you want, creating that financial freedom, so then you can actually invest in assets, because it's nothing more frustrating when you know this information but you've actually got no money to invest in the assets, especially when you see them there, especially when you see, like, you know, silver's at this level where you just know it's going to go up so high and you just don't have the money to invest in it. You know, that's an annoying thing, right? You know, so by clicking the link below, you can join our team and you can start making a lot of cash, and then you're able to invest in assets and, you know, live an amazing life. Okay, see you in the next video.